That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, we're going to go through and talk about a dynasty startup strategy that I know a lot of people are familiar with. And I have to first just tell y'all that this was, I don't want to say created, but I know the term productive struggle was coined by Ryan McDowell. I don't know the year. I believe it was about 2015, 2016. I know we were listening to his Dynasty DLF podcast pretty much every single week back then, and he would talk about it a lot. And this is a very popular dynasty strategy. And if you've been playing dynasty for long enough, I'm sure every single person and their mom has heard about this. But we're going to go through, we're going to talk about, exactly how to implement this strategy. And at the very end of the video, I will show how you could actually implement this strategy in the real team that you could be looking at in 2022 startup drafts based on the results. And of course, before we get into it, you know that this video is brought to you by the people over there, a part of the flock on Patreon. I have to make over 200 videos in a row this offseason. I told y'all every single day I'm going to be getting y'all a Dynasty Fantasy Football video. So, you could bet your ass what I'm doing is I'm going over there to Patreon. I'm saying, hey, please, if you ever want to see a certain video, just let me know. Comment on this Patreon post, whatever you want to see, and I'll be happy to make it because I need video ideas. So please, if you're part of the Patreon community, be on the lookout for that. And also, if you want to join, when you join Patreon, you get our Dynasty rankings that are constantly updated, our rookie rankings that are constantly updated. You get an in-depth podcast breaking down your Dynasty team with suggestions on moves to make. You get in our Dynasty group chat. You get to join our community. And outside of that, drop a like in this video. Subscribe to the channel if you play Dynasty. I think that should be it. Let's go through. Let's dive into this. And with productive struggle here, the main thing that you're going to do is you're going to say, hell, I don't care about year one. We're joining a Dynasty Fantasy Football League. We're not playing in a redraft format. So yeah, if everybody goes into a certain startup and you kind of notice that, hell, 9 out of 12 of these owners, they're going through and they're trying to, get pieces to produce right away. They're trying to get guys like Davante Adams, Cooper Kupp, Derrick Henry, that the production in the short term, makes them great values in these startup drafts. Values where in reality, their long-term trade value just simply isn't going to be there. And instead possibly prefer to get Jalen Waddle at a discount compared to having to pay the premium on someone like Davante Adams. Now, I will say, you have to be very flexible with this. And before we get into how to implement this, and before we talk about the benefits of implementing the productive struggle strategy, I want to give the warning because this strategy is significantly more popular now than it's ever been. You get into a startup now, and you've noticed this if you joined a Dynasty Flock startup last offseason, if you joined a Dynasty Flock startup the offseason before, and I'm sure that with all those Dynasty Flock startups that we are going to have this offseason over there on Patreon, it's probably going to be the same exact thing. You are going to get into your league chat, and every single owner is going to be sending the same message. Let me type this out. Looking to trade back from the 106, looking to trade back from the 104, looking to trade back from the 103, looking to trade back from the 108. Does anybody want to trade up to the first? Does anybody want my first round pick? Looking to trade back. Everybody's trying to do it at this point. Now, keep in mind, those Flock Patreon Dynasty startups, a lot of people have been playing Dynasty for a while that are in those. So this will be a better strategy for people that are getting into new leagues with new owners. Now, I know that, of course, that doesn't apply to everybody in this video. I just want y'all to be aware that it's going to be a lot harder to implement if other teams are doing so. Because if you see that there are 3 or 4 other teams in your startup draft, like say there are 4 other teams in your startup draft that are all trying to trade for future first, that are all trying to trade back in the draft, it may not be worth it for you to go through and implement this strategy. Where this strategy works is where you realize that, hell, there's only 1 or 2 other rosters that are looking to do this, because then you're going to have access to more future draft picks. Not only are you going to have access to more future draft picks, but at the same time, you'll be able to find better values when you're trading back throughout the draft. And it'll be easier for you, which is a very important thing here, to be able to earn the rookie pick 101 overall in the next season. So I think it's a great idea to fully understand how to pull off the productive struggle strategy and what you can be looking at the end of the draft. However, you cannot be just hard-headed with this. If you get into your startup and you realize that there are 4 or 5 other owners trying to pull this off, you got to pull the ripcord. You got to go, okay, this isn't the place that we can go productive struggle. Because if too many owners are trying to accomplish it, then all of a sudden it becomes a bad strategy where the market values are not going to be there for you to take advantage. I mean, dynasties as simple as you zig while everybody else is zagging. And that's how you find value in the market. And that's how you're able to differentiate yourself from the field. So with productive struggle, as we've said, you're going to be punting year 1. You're not going to be concerning yourself with players like Cooper Kupp, with players like Davante Adams, that you know they're going to get points into your starting lineup right away. However, if we're looking at their long-term value, it's damn near impossible for them to increase their value from the 2022 offseason to the 2023 offseason. We are only concerned with players that are able to go through and actually have a bump up in value, or, I mean, you feel very comfortable that they're going to stay where they are. I mean, if you want to be the person to go out there and say, Mason, I'm sorry, Ja'Marr Chase is too good of a wide receiver prospect. I can't trade back from the first round. I'm actually going to have to hold on to this pick, select Ja'Marr Chase. Sure, you can do that, but just please understand that you're not going to be able to accumulate the assets that are able to increase in value, because Ja'Marr Chase, if you're investing into him in the first, you may be a little bit just capped off of where that investment can actually go in terms of, are you really going to be able to double that value? I don't necessarily think so, but it is what it is. And I will say that it's a little bit of a different story on how we're going to be approaching the first round pick in productive struggle spots this offseason than you were previously. Because, I mean, if you go back to dynasty leagues in 2015, 2016, these were the good old days. Okay, these were the days that nobody knew what to do. I mean, those were the days that I was able to go into a startup, just straight up dominate. Whereas now I feel like I get into a lot of these Flock Patreon startups and I'm like, okay, it looks like the majority of these people in here are better than me. What the hell is going on? But back in the day, you were able to go and you were able to take that first round pick. If you had a top 3 pick in a startup draft, I swear to God, this happened. It happened in every league. And if you played on MFL back in 2015, if you were just in the GroupMe circles, hopping in dynasty leagues, you know this. If you had that top 3 pick, what was the standard price point to trade back? You got back a second round startup pick, a third round startup pick, which is already way too much. It's already way too much for someone to give you a second and a third round startup pick for your top 3 pick. It doesn't matter that it's top 3. It's way too much. But they would also throw on their future first as well. You're simply not getting returns like that anymore. So, I mean, back in the day when you were implementing productive struggle, you had no other option but to take the value and trade back from the first round. Here, yeah, the price points changed. I mean, if you're looking at a lot of the trades that we did last offseason, trading back out of the first round, because I still was going through and doing this just at a little bit of a different price point. There we were actually going through and we were looking to get a third and a fourth. If I can trade back from the 105 and I can get your 304 and your 409, of course, I'm going to be trying to pick up an extra 9th. I'm going to be trying to pick up an extra 8th. That's going to be the initial offer. I mean, you're probably not going to get this offer from me straight up. I'm not going to offer you the 105 for your 304 and 409, but I probably will offer you my 105 for your 304, your 409, and also probably, I mean, just say your 704 as well, and see what you say, and then eventually end up dropping off the 7th. Now, I think that we should still be trying to move back from that first round pick, and we should be trying to accumulate picks in the middle rounds, because those are the prospects that can really explode in value. And not only can they have the ability to double in value, very similar to how we were saying that Ja'Marr Chase simply can't double in value at this point, but at the same time, they're not going to be giving you that elite level production in your starting lineup. And you're actually going to be able to then, have a worse season where you get a better rookie pick instead. So if we could accomplish that move, I think it would be fantastic. Another trade that we could be looking at is maybe you trade the 105 for the 304, the 504 and a future first. I mean, that's also something that we could go out there and offer. Of course, it's going to be dependent on your league mates. It's going to be dependent on how many teams are trying to trade back with the actual return that you would be able to get. But I mean, the first thing we should be at least attempting to do is trade back, accumulate more assets, and then with those assets, keep a very flexible roster and invest into spots where you think that the value is going to accrue, or at the very minimum, it's going to be stable. I mean, just the perfect example of this is if we want to invest into stable assets at this point in our startup draft, we should be going through and we should be taking 2022 rookie picks. I mean, it's January. Those rookie picks, we know that their value is not going to go down over the next 5-month period. So if we think that those rookie picks are going to accrue in value, might as well take a couple of them now and then be able to look to trade them later this offseason for 2023 picks. But going back to this, let's talk about the positions that we're going to be targeting. And honestly, one thing that I love talking about is just completely punting a single position. I think that this is almost the easiest way for us to go through and ensure that, I don't want to say we have a bad team, but ensure that we're going to be getting a very high rookie pick. Like if we want the 101, if we want the 102 this next year, I think if we say, you know what position is very volatile with their value, what position, I mean, is highly dependent on situation rather than talent, and what position has a much shorter runway than others. That's the running back position. Another solid reason to go through and look to punt off running back year one is if we look at, I mean, what we can do the following offseason. Because let's say that we decide to go through and load up on wide receivers. We decide to go out there, bring in Jalen Waddle, bring in Treylon Burks, bring in Garrett Wilson. We give them time to, I mean, develop on our team, whereas we kind of get those rookie wide receiver growing pains out of the way. I understand that a lot of recent players like Ja'Marr Chase, Justin Jefferson, yes, they're producing right away. I mean, historically speaking, those running backs, however, are going to be the position that comes in, produces right away, gives you that elite level production as a rookie, whereas wide receiver, where you historically see that jump, is actually going to be in year two. Now, I know that it doesn't look like that's the case just based off the past two classes that we had with guys like Jalen Waddle, Ja'Marr Chase, Justin Jefferson, all breaking out their rookie seasons. But I promise you, I mean, if we just look historic, let's look at the past 10 years. I mean, the past 10 years, you are getting those running backs as high-level producers as rookies. So if we were to go through and completely ignore the running back position, let's say we don't select a single running back through the first 20 rounds, and we just go into this season and we have guys like Dearness Johnson and Khalil Herbert. What that's going to allow us to do is that's going to allow us to make sure that we end up with the 101 the following offseason with that rookie pick 101, whether or not we decide to go Bijan Robinson, get an elite level running back one in right away, whether or not we decide to trade that pick. I mean, we are going to be able to use that individual asset to fix almost the entire position that we are going to have. But what's more important is we should have accrued a lot of value at both wide receiver, quarterback. I mean, even throw tight ended here. I would be comfortable saying that those are the three positions that are mainly dictated by the individual player's talent. So if we bet on those talented profiles and then buy into the running back situations in year two, I mean, that's going to be an easy recipe for success. And I mean, let's just go through and let's kind of map this out on how it can be played out. So let's say, you know what, I'm going into a startup draft, and what are the boxes that we're looking to check? We're looking to just kind of evaluate the room. Let's look around. Let's check the league chat. I mean, the first sign that you're not going to go productive struggle will be, I mean, what I've found as of late in a lot of dynasty startups, and it hurts my soul because it makes it a lot harder to go through and dominate these startup drafts. But that's going to be a lot of people going through and all spamming the same message, looking to trade back, looking for 2023 first round picks. There you're going, okay, maybe we can't. But however, if you don't see those messages, then all systems go. Then we go and we put our own pick on the block. Not only are we going to put our own pick on the block, but I mean, you'll see if you're in a startup draft with me, what you're going to find out is, I mean, I'm going to go through and offer essentially the same trade to everybody. I'm going to go through, I'm going to take that first round pick that I have. I'm going to say offer it for their 3rd, 4th, and 7th round startup picks. That's going to be the first offer that I have, just going through and trying to accumulate as many of those assets that I can to take shots on those players that we believe can jump up even more in value, like Jalen Waddle. Not only are we going to offer every owner that trade, but we can also go through and offer every owner the deal of our first round startup pick for their 3rd, 5th, and 1st. And I know there's a handful. I'm sure 90% of people watching this video are going, Mason, you bum, you idiot. Nobody's ever going to accept that deal. Hell, you only need one person to accept it. But what we're really looking for is we're looking for just a couple messages back from 3 different owners, teams that we can identify as owners wanting to trade up in the draft, going, hell, I can't give you my 7th. Can I give you my 9th instead? Hell, that's the first move we made. We traded back from the first round. We're able to go through and we're able to try to identify those players that can skyrocket in value in those middle rounds. And then we're up with our second round pick. We can look to do the same thing, but you're not going to get the same level of return. I mean, if you want to take that second round pick, if you want to try to flip it for, say, a fourth and a sixth, then sure, you can try to do so. In reality, I think we're probably just going to end up sticking with that second round pick. And let me run over and check out our last Patreon mock draft. I mean, of course, this can be found on YouTube as well if y'all are wanting to see, some of the options that you would have on a round by round basis. But here in the second round, Kyle Pitts goes in the middle of the round. You have, Javonte Williams in the second as well. You have some clear targets that could be pieces that we're looking to build around for the future, pieces that could just go through and continue to accrue in value. But say you don't have Kyle Pitts available to, and you aren't able to take a cornerstone player that you're going to be able to build around for the next 5 seasons, someone that you are certain is going to be able to maintain that value this following offseason, then that's going to be the position where, let's say, you end up trading the 205 for whatever it may be, and you end up getting a middle 4th round pick, an additional 2023 first. I think that's another deal that you could look to make, because maybe an owner's going, hell, I really want to trade up for Alvin Kamara. I'm going to be giving up someone like Cam Akers in the 2023 first. That could be a fair deal for both parties if the other person's going through and looking to compete. So now all of a sudden we've gone through and we have accumulated an extra first round pick. Not only do we have the extra first round pick, but we have an extra 3rd, an extra 4th, and an extra 7th. So now let's kind of map out what we can do with these picks. So let me just type out, and let's use this draft board as an example. So say we get to the 3rd round and we have 2 picks here. Hell, we have 2 middle round picks. Let's start our draft off and let's take Jalen Waddle and the rookie pick 101. Now, regardless, if you're deciding to go through and you're deciding to, say, actually use that rookie pick 101 on Treylon Burks, or what I'm probably going to want to do is then flip that rookie 101 a little bit later on. Once we get closer to rookie drafts, I know right now this may not be a deal that you can actually do, but once we get closer to rookie drafts, I'd feel comfortable in saying that you could potentially trade that rookie pick 101 for, say, the 110 and a future first, or the 107 and a future first. Of course, there are going to be a lot of people trying to move up, so let's then flip that 101 into the 110 and a future first as well, or let's do the 108. Let's say you're a very good negotiator, and I know we're kind of all over the place at this point, but I want to make sure that we are just counting up the assets that we have. So at this point, we're able to go through and get, a total of 3 2023 firsts on this roster. One of them is going to be the 2023 101, and that's just through the first 3 rounds that we have. And then in the 4th, I've seen so many people on Patreon send us already that they're getting Trey Lance, they're getting Justin Fields in the 4th round. So let's take our quarterbacks in a super flex format. Let's get guys that have rushing upside that can increase in value. Now, y'all know, I am a noted Justin Fields hater. At least I was a noted Justin Fields hater when he was going at the 1-2 turn in Dynasty Superflex drafts. Now, if he's going at the 4-5 turn, I'm completely fine going through and investing into that price point. So at this point, we have Jalen Waddle, the 108, Trey Lance, Justin Fields on the roster. We have 3 2023 first. One of them our own, which should end up being the rookie pick 101. Hopefully Thomas can lay this out on the screen for y'all and make this understandable. I'm a little bit all over the place. And we're just through the first 4 rounds. Then we get to the 5th round, and here you have some other options. You can go with the rookie pick 104. You can decide to take DJ Moore. Let's just say you want to go very young. Let's say we want to go with the rookie pick 104 as well once we get to the 5th round. So we're going to take that rookie pick. Then we're in the 6th. In the 6th round, you're in a little bit of a dead zone. Possibly you want to take this pick, and I guess we didn't take Kyle Pitts. We can take TJ Hawkinson, an asset that's still very young and should continue to accrue in value. So let's go TJ Hawkinson here. Now we have 2 7th round picks as well. With these 7th round picks, we can go a couple different ways. We could decide to take another quarterback option that you perceive to be a stable player, or you can go through and you can look to trade these 2 7th round picks, which should be easy to do. I think that at this point in a dynasty startup draft, you should be able to easily take these picks and move them for future first. At this point on the board, you have guys like DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, Michael Carter, Ryan Tannehill, Amari Cooper, all available. I think you could take these 2 7th round picks and you could look to move them for future first. So if we go through and we account what you were able to do with with the first 7 rounds in these startup drafts. And please let me know in the comment section if you think I'm being way too aggressive on any of these trades. But I mean, we have a roster that's not going to be able to be competitive right away, but the trade value that we should have for the 2023 offseason is going to be fantastic. I mean, at the receiver position, through 7 rounds, keep in mind, we still have a lot of picks that we can make down the road, but we have Jalen Waddle at receiver. We have 2 young quarterbacks that can, more importantly, just increase their dynasty value this upcoming season with Trey Lance and Justin Fields. Then we have a couple rookie picks in this year's draft class of the 104, the 108, regardless of if we want to use these picks or flip them for future assets. That's another option that we could have. We have TJ Hawkinson, and we have 5 future first as well. And one of those picks should be the rookie pick 101. So, I mean, this is a start that, of course, you're not going to be able to be competitive right away. But this is a realistic idea of what a productive struggle team would look like, in my opinion. Back in the day, back in 2015, it would look much better than this. But I'm trying to be realistic with today's price points. It's much harder to trade down draft boards. But if we're looking to just accumulate those 2023 draft picks, I think it's something that's going to be possible. And I think you can do so at a reasonable value depending on how you go about the draft. But of course, please let me know what y'all think. Please let me know, I mean, what you'd be doing from there. Say in the 8th round, you can go through and you can decide to take someone like Jerry Jeudy. In the 9th round, you can take Rashad Bateman. In the 10th round, you can go through and take Michael Gallup. I mean, there are a ton of options. I want us to continue to load up on wide receivers that are going to be stable based on their talent profiles throughout the rest of the draft. But of course, thank you all so much for checking out this video. Really hope it helped y'all out. Really hope y'all got something from it. Please go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, let me know how stupid I am, subscribe to the channel, and I hope you have a great day.